first glance, this looks like an expensive designer decor piece, but it actually began as a plain empty wine bottle. Wait until you see how I make the paint blend seamlessly into the decoupaged image, while gold clay ginkgo leaves and velvet details bring the entire project to life in the most elegant way. Hello, my crafty friends. I'm Donna from Mason Creations, etc. And welcome to my channel. If you're ready, my friends, let's make a mess. I'm going to clean this bottle using some alcohol and a paper towel. The alcohol will remove any oil, dirt, or fingerprints. This way, I can start with a nice clean surface. I'm going to brush on Polyvine's multi-surface lacquer in a dead flat finish. I'm using the dead flat finish because I want to remove the shine. It's specially formulated to create a durable bond on slick, non-porous surfaces such as plastic, glass, ceramic, and metal. That bond acts as a gripping layer that allows paints, decoupage papers, or transfers to stick more effectively. Without it, top layers may chip, scratch, or peel. For best results, I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color cotton to paint my entire bottle white. I'm going to be doing some decoupage and need a crisp white background so the colors in my image show up sharp and bright. If you have a dark background, the colors in your image will look dark, so always paint white before decoupaging. I'm using a sponge dauber to apply my paint. It actually lays more paint down than a brush does, so this should cover well in one coat. If not, you can always add a second coat. And then I let this dry for about 30 minutes. This is such beautiful rice paper, and Sharon, I know you're loving this color. I'm going to get my paper prepped and ready to decoupage. I used a water brush to separate the two images and remove all the white factory edges. A water brush has a cartridge that you fill with water and then brush it on the napkin or rice paper. The water dispenses easily, so this is really convenient. My crafty friend, Nikki J, asked me to show how to mix colors. Nikki, this video is for you. Now I'm going to remove more of the background, leaving almost just the image. The more excess paper you can remove, the better it's going to lay on your bottle. I also made some slits in the paper at the top where the bottle is rounded, so it would lay flat on the bottle. The slitted paper will overlap each other, which will aid the paper in laying perfectly flat. This paper is just perfect for wine bottles. Each image measures approximately 8 inches high by 5.5 inches wide. They fit a wine bottle perfectly. There are 6 different images to pick from in the Lady Love collection. I'll leave you a link to the collection so you can check them out. They're all beautiful. Where are you all watching from, my crafty friends? Let me know in the comments. I just love to see what cities and countries all my friends are watching from. I'm filming from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada in the United States. I'm getting the paper positioned on my piece, and then I'll start lifting it in each area, add my adhesive, and then pressing the paper down with a brush. Or simply just add the adhesive right over top of the image. Rice paper and napkins are so porous that the adhesive will just soak right through and attach your image perfectly. I'm using Polyvine Heavy Duty Varnish in a satin finish as my decoupage adhesive today. You can use this product as a varnish and an adhesive, which is true for all the Polyvine formulas. This varnish dries to the touch in 1 hour and is completely cured in 16 hours. It dries crystal clear and will never yellow. All the Polyvine formulas can be used as a decoupage adhesive, so feel free to use whichever one you have on hand. Now I'm going to mist a piece of a cut up Ziploc bag with some water. I'm pressing it over my decoupaged image and rubbing out any bubbles or wrinkles with a paper towel, and then lifting the plastic up carefully so it doesn't lift up the image. I'll let this dry for a couple of hours, then flip it over and decoupage the corresponding image on the back of the bottle. I love that these papers have a corresponding picture for the back of the bottle. Wait until you see how I'm going to blend the two images together. I'm going to do some paint blending in just a few minutes. In order for that to turn out seamless, you need to make sure the edges of your paper are coated with a gloss or satin sealer. So I'm giving both images a generous coat of varnish, especially around all the torn edges of the paper. And then I'll let that dry for about an hour. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the colored drop cloth to blend in as my base color. It matches the background of the paper perfectly, and that was just lucky. If it didn't match, I'd have to mix up a background color. But yay, I didn't have to this time. I'm using a sponge to dab this color around and onto the paper in the areas that are this color. The other colors will take some mixing. One of the ways to disguise the edge of the paper is to take your paint up onto the paper and blend it right into the paper around the image. I'm taking this color up onto the neck of the bottle, as it's going to become the background color of the bottle. Okay, Nikki, here we go with matching the colors. There is a very light lavender color in the images, which I'll be mixing to match. I want the tones to be the same, so I'll be using the colored drop cloth as my base for all the colors I mix. The background color of the paper is the drop cloth color, so the base tone of all the colors I'm matching will have that same base tone. I started with a little drop cloth and then added a small amount of Pentart paint in the color purple. This matched very well with the color in the paper. If it was too dark, I would add a little more drop cloth. If it was too light, then a little more purple. I'm sponging this color by where that same color is on the paper. And I'm going right up on the paper as well. I'm sponging very delicately and not getting full coverage. That's the secret to blending paint. If there's a little of the paper color showing through your paint, it blends them to a new color in between the original color and the new color. I'm sponging the color in large areas so it looks like it belongs. I'm also taking it over and blending it with the other image. This way, the two images blend together. Then I went back and forth with my lavender color and the drop cloth color, blending the two colors so they look seamless. And again, don't go for full coverage. Let the two colors meld within each other. I just keep going back and forth with my colors until I'm happy with the way it looks. Because you're watching this video today, DecoupageNapkins.com is going to give you a 10% discount on one order that's a minimum of at least $50. This is a one-time discount and is good on your entire order when you use the code MASON10 in all caps at checkout. So now you can get that mold you've been eyeing or some additional rice papers you've been wanting. Even if you've been ordering from them in the past, you can still take advantage of this one-time 10% discount when using the code above. I'll leave all this information for you in my description box below. To find my description box, click on the word more just below the title of this video. Okay, new color. There is a darker purple in a couple places. I mixed my base color of drop cloth with a paint color called eggplant, but the color was a little too vibrant. It needs to be a little more drab. So I added a little dark gray. That did the trick and the color matches perfectly. I'm sponging that on in the areas where the image color is that dark purple. I'm blending it with the lavender I mixed as well as some of the drop cloth. I just kept blending until I was pleased with the way it looked. I also added this darker color around the bottom edge of the bottle to add some interest with shadows. Bear in mind that you're adding matte paint over top of a shiny image, so it's not going to look beautiful right now. Once you add your final sealer, it'll take on a completely different look that you will love. If your paint isn't blending well, add a spritz of water to your sponge. The water will help with blending. Any of the products I use in my videos are wonderful products that I personally believe in, so you can bet that each one is a great product. Everything I use will be listed in my description box below. Each one will have a blue link, so they're easy for you to find. Any links I provide are safe for you to click on. To find my description box, click on the word more just below the title of this video. I also added some of the dark purple at the top of the neck for a deep shadow. After the paint dried in about 30 minutes, I added a coat of varnish over the entire bottle. And then I'll let that dry for about an hour. There are some fine lines that look like they may be strands of hair or some delicate branches. I'm using a nail art brush to add some gold paint on those lines. This brush has long, thin hairs, so it just flows over the image, leaving a very fine paint line. I'm going over the lines that are already there. The centers of the flowers have some gold in it too, so I did some small lines there as well. I just want to take a moment, all of my crafty friends, to say thank you for watching this video. If you're enjoying the content, it would be great if you could take a quick second and hit the like and hype buttons. I appreciate you for doing that. I have some awesome new projects coming up, so don't forget to subscribe. There are little dots all over the image. I'm using a dotting tool to make those little dots gold. Dotting tools are very interesting. You dip it in your paint and then tap it on your image. Each dot you make after the first one will be smaller in size. So if you want all your dots to remain the exact size, you need to load your tool with paint each time. I didn't mind them being different sizes. I actually like the look of that. I'm using my favorite, Doss clay, to make some embellishments for this project. Doss clay is so easy to work with, dries quickly, and has very little shrinkage or cracking when dry. It's perfect for making molded pieces. After pressing the clay into the mold, I'm scraping off the excess with my palette knife. Now I'm smoothing the clay out with some water. Then I'll put them in the freezer for 20 minutes. Freezing the clay makes it rigid, so they just pop out of the mold easily. No fragile pieces will break off. Fresh out of the freezer, watch how easily these just pop out of the molds. No delicate little pieces will break off. They are frozen solid, so I'll need to let them thaw for a few minutes, but not in the mold. Make sure you remove them from the mold right away as soon as you take them out of the freezer. While they're thawing, I take that time to smooth out the edges and remove any little pieces of clay that shouldn't be there. While they're still somewhat frozen is a great time to do this. They're still hard, so touching them won't destroy all that beautiful detail. They do thaw quickly and will be ready to glue to your project within a few minutes. I'm going to use Aleene's tacky glue to add my molded clay to my piece. I need to add this while the clay is still wet so it'll conform to the piece as it dries. This is the best glue I've found for attaching wet clay. If any glue seeps out from under the clay, I'm removing it right away with a clean, damp brush. I'm also pressing down all the edges of the clay very delicately to make sure they're all connecting with the piece. I think these little ginkgo leaves are so cute. I'm just going to add them randomly all over the neck of the bottle and fading down to where the image is. I'm placing some of them overlapping each other. Since I could only make 4 at a time, you can just imagine how many times I was running back and forth to the freezer. I put my glue on the back of a silicone mold, and I'm using a silicone makeup brush to add the glue to my clay. It's so easy to clean the glue off the silicone. DecoupageNapkins.com has an amazing selection of napkins, and the best part is that you can purchase them individually. They carry a wide range of craft supplies, including rice paper, paints, clay, molds, and an excellent selection of polyvine products. With thousands of items available and new products being added regularly, it's truly a one-stop shop for crafters. Orders are carefully packed and shipped quickly. You'll earn bonus points on orders over $100. Additional offers may vary and are often seasonal, so be sure to check their website. You'll find any promotions displayed in a banner at the top of their homepage. Subscribe to their newsletter by entering your email address to receive 10% off your next order. This discount is separate from the Mason 10 code and may be used on an additional purchase. I'll leave links to all the products I use in the description box below. Please note that all offers are subject to change. To find my description box, click on the word "More" below the title of this video. So I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'm using Pentart Delicate Paint in the color Gold to paint all the little ginkgo leaves. When I'm painting 3D embellishments, I turn the piece and look in all directions to make sure I haven't missed a spot. When it's dry, I turn it in all directions again to catch anything missed. You'd be surprised how many white spots pop up after it dries. Wait until you see the unique antiquing technique I'm going to do on this bottle. I'll be doing it shortly, so make sure you stick around. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I use a lot of Dixie Belle and Pentart paints. They are my absolute favorites. They both go on super smooth and creamy with really good coverage. I rarely, if ever, need a second coat of Pentart, and that goes for the metallic colors as well. And then I'll let that dry for about an hour. Since I'm going to do an antiquing technique, I need a shiny surface. I'll be doing the leaves and around all the leaves, so I'm going to need a coat of varnish on the entire bottle. If you don't have a shiny surface, the antiquing won't work properly. So always make sure you add a coat of gloss or satin sealer before using any antique. The standard brown antiquing just won't complement all the lavenders, purple, and gold in this image. So I'm going to mix up a custom antique using some glazing medium. I put about a teaspoon of glazing medium in a little paper cup. Now I'm going to use some of the paints that I used when doing all my paint blending. I'm adding just a tiny bit of the purple, eggplant, and dark gray. But it's not dark enough, so I added some black. Because I added so many paint colors, the antique was a little thick, so I added a little water. I like my antiques a little runny. They're easier to work with. Because I used all my same paint colors, the antiquing solution has all the same exact tones as my paper. You can use glazing medium to mix any custom color antique to match your piece. I just love doing this. I am so matchy-matchy. I really need for colors to blend harmoniously. So now you all know my freaky side. I'm brushing my antique on the piece, going over and around all the embellishments. I'm doing this in sections and wiping the antique off with a soft, dry cloth right away before it can dry. Because of the gloss finish, it will wipe off the surface and stay in all the cracks and crevices, showing the details of the mold. Antiquing gives your embellishments some depth and dimension, making everything look 3D instead of flat. What a difference it makes. Everything just comes to life now. When you wipe the antique off, if some of it remains on the base part, you can add a little water to a cloth or paper towel and wipe it off. Because I added the satin sealer before antiquing, it'll wipe off easily. In most of my videos, you'll see me using a lot of different tools that make life so much easier. Things like a turquoise cup cradle to keep round objects from getting away, a bodabra that makes bows in a snap, a water brush for separating rice paper and napkins, small art brushes for fine detail work, palette knives, and a rhinestone picker. If you're interested in checking out any of these items, you can find them listed in my description box below, in my favorite tools section. To find my description box, click on the word "More" just below the title of this video. I let the antiquing dry for a couple hours and then gave the entire bottle a final coat of varnish and let that dry for an hour. I'm going to add some spectacular shimmery gold to the ginkgo leaves. I'm using redesigned decor wax. in the color Eternal. This is going to look so beautiful. I'm putting a small amount of the rub on my finger and rubbing it together with my thumb. Smearing it around like that prevents a large amount of your product ending up in one place. I'm just skimming it over the high points of the leaves. I'm not trying to get it in any of the cracks and crevices. I want those to remain the dark eggplant color. I'm taking a soft dry cloth and buffing the dried Eternal wax. This shines it up a bit. I let the wax dry for several hours before buffing. I have some purple velvet ribbon that matches this image so perfectly. And now that you know my freaky side, you know it absolutely has to match. I am going to glue it around the top of the bottle to hide the threads. I just kept wrapping, overlapping, and gluing until it was covered. Don't forget, all of the wonderful products I'm using today can be found at my favorite place for craft supplies, decoupagenapkins.com, and I'll leave you links in my description box below. I'm going to add some really neat ball chain hanging around the neck with some little charm embellishments on the ends of the chain. I did a second chain, but only added a charm to one of the ends. I wanted there to be 3 charms and not 4. An odd amount is always better than an even number. In art, anything that is asymmetrical is more pleasing to the eye. This is a cabinet knob I got from Hobby Lobby. You can find some really fancy knobs there. I use them all the time for bottle toppers. This one really went well with the theme of this bottle. I removed the nut and washer. I pre-drilled a hole in a cork that I had in my stash. I'm going to thread the screw through the cork and then add the washer and nut on the bottom to hold it in place. If you enjoyed this video, I have a playlist where you can find a lot of other mixed media projects. Click the picture on the right to watch some other projects you may enjoy. Thanks for watching, and if you don't want to miss any new projects, you can subscribe by clicking my picture in the top right corner.